Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So in this series I'm going to talk about the Dart language, which is a prerequisite for mobile development using Flutter. And in previous lesson we already learned how to install and how to install the Dart SDK and set up our development environment. So in this series, I'm going to talk the variable and data type in Dart. So if this is your first time watching my video, so please subscribe to my channel if you like my video, and I will also continue upload the content about how to become a 4-star developer. Okay, let's get started. And here is the mind map for Dart for today's agenda, and I will going to talk about how to make a comment and how to declare a variable and what's the data type and what's the type inference and what's the constant and final keyword in Dart. Also, I will give you a comparison about what's the runtime and what's the compile time. Okay, let's get started. So you see, I already write down everything for today's tutorial, but I will execute those code line by line, and I do this just for saving time. So I don't want to waste your time just watching me typing those code. Yeah, so I just prepare those ahead. And also, okay, so how to make a comment in Dart. So as you see, so in Dart, if you want to make a comment, so you just insert to a splash to slash. So this line of code will ignored by the program when it executes. You can also use three slash just used for like a function comment and also for document comment. Yeah, if you just using just want to write down some comment for tell someone else to what the code doing, you can just use the two dash. So how to declare a variable? You can see there is a formula. You can declare a variable in Dart. So first you need to give a type, and then you need to give identifier, and then you need to give the initial value. So before I run those code, I will first just give you a brief introduction about what's a variable. So variable just used for storing information, which can be used later by your program. So suppose imagine you have a different empty boxes, and you have apple, you have different kind of fruit, like a apple, strawberry, and you want to store each fruit into different kind of boxes. So how you can find which fruit is inside which boxes? So you need to label it, right? So you need to label it so you can find it in the later. So this is the same when you write the program code. So you need to give the variable, give a you need to, when you declare a variable, you actually like allocate a memory location in your computer. So how you can find those memory location in the later program if you want to use those variable again? So you just give it the identifier. And so let me comment out those lines of code and just run it, and you can see what's going on. So the first line of the line 7 will produce 1 and line 9 will produce 2. So what's the reason? So the reason because the line A, I would just recite a new value to the same variable. So I just replacing. So suppose this box is just for place apple, but later I want to store different kind of food. So I remove the apple and put the banana inside it. So the boxes, now the value of the stuff inside this box is changing. So you see the value is also changing. And I also drop this diagram. So suppose this is your laptop. Somewhere you allocate two memory location. One is story, an integer 1, and another is story integer 2. So when you print out, you just print out this value. Okay, let's move to the next one. So the next one is everything. Next one is I want to tell you what's the difference is between a reference type and the value type. So as you know, from last lesson, we know everything in there is an object. So if you declare a variable but you didn't assign a value to it, so it will be a noun. So you see here. So you give some error says this is no nullable variable. So you must assign before you can use it. So I use it because I want to print it, but I didn't assign any a value to it. So it produced this kind of error. So back to the diagram. So suppose I declare this first integer and I allocate the memory address for it, but I didn't assign anything to it. So in the future, so I want to print this, but this one is nothing. It's referring to nothing. So I can print out what's inside these boxes, right? So I just comment out this line, comment out this code. Comment this code. So we move to the next, and then I declare the second variable and give the value 2, and I assign the second integer's value into the first integer. So you see, so first I declare this first integer and I give the value is 1, and then I declare the second integer, I give the value as 2. Then I assign the second integer's value into the first integer. So actually just like this. So the first integer now is reference to the second integer, and the second integer is reference to this value too. So when you print out this first integer, and I think they both the same value, is all the number 2. So I can print out this second integer, and we can see. I just comment out this first print statement. Okay, and save and execute this code again. You see I have those two values are the same. Okay, moving to the next one. So the next one is the rule for declare a variable like identifier. So there is a rule for the identifier. So as you see the rule, the Dart team highly recommend you using lower camel case. What's lower camel case? Just like the except the first letter, the first word of first letter is a small case. Then other than that, all the letter need to be capital. And also the identifier can only include numbers, letters, underscore, and the dollar sign. So as you see, but it cannot start with the number. So as you see, I start with the number, so it produces an error. So I can start, I can give a variable name which is start with the number, and this one is correct because I can start with the dollar sign. So this one is correct, but this one is correct. And move to the next. So we cannot use keyword. So the if is actually it's like a keyword in there. So we cannot use the keyword. So if you are using keyword, the keyword will be highlighted in different colors, as you can see. This one is a keyword. This one is also the keyword. So if you're using keyword, you will give the compile error. So the compile won't be able to let you use it. And then we can use underscore, right? Underscore. Actually, this is a private variable. Yeah, but it's in. I will talk it later. You can, unlike other other language like Java and C++, they have a private this keyword to make this attribute, this a variable as a private. So in Dart, if you want to make this variable or method private, you just start with the underscore, so it will be not accessible from outside. And the last rule is it's a case sensitive. You see these, the first integer and the first integer, those two is actually it's the different variable. And if I change the first one to small case, you see this one you say the fourth integer already defined. So actually there are different the identifier are case sensitive, they are different. Okay, we move to next. So we move to next is the data type. So in the Dart there are 8 built-in data type. So number, Boolean, string, list, set, map, rule, and symbol. So in today's lesson I will only talk about the number, Boolean, and string. So in the rest will be talking in later video. So number, you see number also can divide into those two subtype. One is integer and is a double. So let me just quickly comment out this line of code. You can declare, you can give the data type as a number because number is a supertype of integer and double. So you can give the value either integer or double, right? Okay, so move to next. So you see, I first integer, I give the 1. So there is a attribute called runtime type. So you can print the runtime type of this variable to check which type they are, right? So when I check the first integer, it is the type of the first integer is the int before line 36, right? In 37, I assign this double value to this first integer. So in line 38, I print it will be converted into double. So I think the number can be like interchangeable. You can either assign int as well as the double. However, if you declare a variable like you assign the data type as an int, right? So you give the initial value like 1. So then later you want to change it into like 1.0, it will be producing the error. It says the value of type double cannot be assigned into value type of int. And the reason for this is, so I think it's the integer. So the memory location assigned for integer actually is just a 4 byte byte, and aside for byte, right? 4 times 8 is 32-bit, and actually aside the double is actually like a 64-bit. So the memory location for double is larger than the integer. So you can, if you decree a variable and assign the data type is a double, and you can assign it as a integer to it, but you can know like a reverse, just a reverse like this. Yeah, I think I have this example in this code. I will show you later. So the integer just the yeah, as we already see it, we can define integer and label it as an integer type, and also the same as the double. So you see this line of code, yeah, line 51. So we declare the double, but we cite it integer value, right? But we cannot. But this line of code is produce error. But this line of code won't produce error. So the reason is that the memory allocated for double is large than int. So if you're trying to convert into double, you will lose like a precise, maybe, yeah, you will lose. So we move to next is a Boolean. So Boolean type is very simple. They have only two type of value. One is true and one is false. So we can use it to as a flag to determine our flow control. So I will talk more when we to run into the flow control topic. Yeah. So it's just a true and false, you see. So when you're trying to print the value of is it, it will be like says true. You can also change it to false, right? It can be changeable. So when you print it, it will be like a false and false, right? Okay, move to next. Next one is a string. So string, you can declare a variable as a string either by a double quote or single quote. Yeah, it doesn't matter which one you prefer. However, when you're using, if you there is a case you need to notice, like in this third and fourth string. So if this is a single, if a single comma, single quote inside a double quote, it's okay. But if it's a single quote inside single quote, it will be produce error because the compiler will think this one is a pair, and they didn't find the rest one will produce error, right? So you need to give a escape character. Also, you can declare the multiple line of code, just 3 double quote or single quote. Either one is fine. Okay, move to next. So the next one is a string concatenation. Okay, sorry, I need to put this one, comment out this one. Let me run the code. You can see the result. So we can easily like concat two strings together. Just use the plus sign. So you see the first output will be hello razor, but it didn't have any space between because you see those two I didn't have any space between. So in line 2 this one have a space between. This is called string concatenation, and another one is called string interpolation. So in string interpolation, we can use $sign, and a variable. So let me run this code first. Yeah, you see, my name is Razor. If you have a $sign, it will grab the value inside this variable like a razor. You will replace this second string with the razor. So as you see from the terminal, you will see my name is razor. And if you want to use expression, so you need to have this curly bracket. So like a 1 plus 1 is 2. So if you have this curly bracket, you will execute this line of code first. That you'll calculate it will be 2 and just add back to this string. So the string will be 1 plus 1 is 2. Okay, so the next one. So the next one is actually like a type inference. What's the type inference? So in the DAR you can declare this a variable and you didn't specify the type. So you give the var keyword. So in this line of code, so let me execute. You will this one you will determine by this compile, and when you run it, when you compile the code, it didn't notice what's the data type of the. You will determine where you write here when it is runtime. So in the runtime, you will check which type you are. So you are string. So after when it notice you are string, so you cannot change back to the other data type like integer. So here I assign integer to this string variable. You give me the compile error. You see here, so I give the var keyword, and this should be the integer, right? Yeah, you see, it is the int. Okay, next. So next I will going to talk what is the compile and what's the compile time and runtime. So as I mentioned about a lot, so compile time just like the code actually we write now is a human readable code. So actually you need to convert it into machine code so the computer can be so understandable, right? So computer didn't know what's the word you're writing, they just know the 0 and 1. So you need to compile our code into machine code. So this process will call like a compile time. And the runtime is just simple. We click run the code, and this just yeah, when we execute the code, and it's a runtime. Okay, after you know these two concepts, so we were going to the last two keyword, final and constants. So what's final and constants? Yeah, it's just like a constant, just like if you declare the variable as a constant, the value cannot be changed in later, right? So you see in this constant, I declare variable pi. So as you know, I use the small case because the lowercase is preferred by Dart team. So unlike other language, use the capital letter to declare the constants. So you see, I declare the pi as a 3.14, and later I cannot change its value because it's a constant. So if you declare a variable as a var, you can change its value, but you need to keep it as a same type. So I cannot change its value, right? You see here, you produce the error. I think it's the same for the final. So the constants and the final, you cannot change those value. So what's the difference between constants and final? So the let me show the next example so you can see what's the difference between those two. So the constants keyword, it will be determined by the compile time, right? You see here I get the data time of now, every time I run this line of code, you will get me like a different time. Yeah, this line of code just get a system time. So every time I run this line of code, you will give me like a different time step. So it's no constant, right? So it will produce the error. So because constant only check in the compile time. However, if we label as a final, it will check at the runtime. So we will how to say, yeah, each time the value will be determined on the runtime. So the last one is a dynamic. So the dynamic is you can change it is data type because it is dynamic. You see, the first one I give it the integer value, and then I change to double, and then I change to string. So the compile didn't produce any error. So it allow me to write this code. However, if I write this var like str equals 1, and later I just change it to, yeah, this one will be produce error. Yeah, so yeah, thanks for watching today's tutorial, and I think that's all for today. Yeah, in next video I'm going to talk about the operators, and yeah, I will see you in next video. Thank you. Thanks for watching.